So depression over the last 40 years, we've seen this significant increase in certainly our ability to recognize depression. And in doing so, I think over the last 40 years, we've recognized that it is a pretty serious mental health condition. We know that there are a lot of behaviors linked to depression. And previously, when we looked at depression, there used to be a lot of stigma. And there was a lot of misunderstanding. A lot of folks, they didn't understand what depression was. Is it laziness? And I think often laziness and depression, or laziness and various mental health conditions, sadly, are inappropriately paired even today. But since we're talking specifically about depression in this webinar, the stigma associated with depression, not having that ability, that internal push or motivation, lack of a better word, to get things done, to take care of yourself. That socioeconomic dysfunction associated with depression. Before, it was rub some dirt on it, get over it. And I don't know if you've seen, I would love to show you, but it is copyrighted, so I can't. But there is a YouTube video, and what it shows, it's treating physical injuries. Like there's a guy who falls out of a tree and breaks his arm, and treating those injuries just like mental health. Right? So, you see this guy got this broken arm, and the person saying, just get over it. It's not that big a deal. Just think differently. And it's really interesting to think that that's sort of how we have to see these issues, that they're not that simply fixed by just think differently. And we know that because there's often a lot of contention in working with these folks. We're going to talk about that maybe when it becomes a greater degree of trait, could be associated with certainly personality disorders or a variety of various comorbid conditions. Now, even though that more individuals are recognizing those signs of depression and they are seeking help, what's interesting about that is, let me get my pointer, okay, is that we see that there are rising trends. So we're recognizing that people are experiencing more depression. And again, I think that even prior to 2020, we were certainly aware that depression was a problem, that depression was an issue. But then the pandemic hits, and certainly people are paying more attention to, and these are what I call surface issues. And surface issue would be depression, anxiety, could be panic attacks, things of that nature. But then there becomes this light on it. And we've been recognizing the trends, as you can see in this chart, since 2015. Pandemic hits, then everybody sort of notices it. But I think what we need to do is look deeper as well, because I think our clients have changed. And that doesn't mean just those that are Gen Z or millennials, and I get them all confused. Like who's Gen Z and X and millennials and all that other stuff. I really get those brackets. They get a little muddy for me. But anyway, but that these individuals, regardless of that generation identifier, are struggling in different ways than they were when Rogers was practicing, when Beck was practicing. I think things have significantly changed, and we're going to definitely talk about that today and lessen some of those challenges that you and I are experiencing with our clients with depression. And if we look here, we see that the percent that say yes of lifetime depression, as well as the percent that say current depression. Now, the green line is lifetime depression. And we see that underneath that, it is current depression. So we're seeing some variability because we know that in large part that most depressive cycles, so to speak, are going to be recurrent. So major depressive disorder recurrent is going to be more common than that single episode that it starts and it just keeps going. Okay, so I have to be aware of that as well. And then if we look at lifetime and current depression rates by subgroup. Now, I want you to think about who makes up your caseload. Is it adults? As you can see here, 2017, 2023, it's a 9% increase, or break it down, 8.4%. And that's diagnosed with depression in a lifetime. And if you look over a little further over, that treated for depression, who have been treated for depression. And we see an increase in that treatment as well. We'll talk about something fascinating in just a minute, relating to more treatment and more identification. So we see that males are becoming a little more open to the idea of depression. They're becoming a little more open to participating in therapy. And we see that females and most females, they're not more mentally ill. And we know that statistically, but they are higher treatment seekers. So they're more willing to talk about their emotions, deal with their emotions. So we're not surprised here when we look a little over, currently have or treated for depression. We see that males, that change is 2.0, which, I mean, to me, it's significant that we're getting more men in to deal with depression, which I think is very important. When we look at the females, 6.2% change. So we're seeing that these individuals are coming to treatment even in greater numbers. Now look at the ages, and we see, right, that certainly younger folks more open to the idea. They grow up with the idea. There's no stigma. That stigma is certainly associated more with 65 and older. And the reason why I say this is because, like, my dad's generation, my dad is 84, and he understands therapy. He isn't adverse to it. He's never participated in it, but he recognizes that as a tool to ameliorate some issues. However, he has a greater degree of expectation and openness to medication for mental health concerns than therapy. And I think in large part, and I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts as well, because when he grew up, so he was born in 1940, and you see all these just incredible advancements in the pharmaceutical industry, in the efficacy of medications. And you see all of that. So he sees that and believes that there's a pill to fix everything. And we know that that is not true. And so I think that really, can help us understand that difference between 18 to 29, 65 and older. We see that as far as race and ethnicity, African-American, Black adults, that they are coming to treatment more often. That's wonderful. Hispanic individuals coming to treatment more often. And we see that white adults also coming to treatment more often. So if your practice is like mine, you're pretty busy. You have a lot of folks that are tapping in, trying to get appointments and things like that. And just to link it to what we're going to talk about in a moment, as far as like telehealth and teletherapy. So I have a lot of people that contact me that want to do teletherapy, even if they're maybe, like, I don't know, 15 miles away. They're like, oh, no, I'll just do it online. I prefer in person, and I don't know if this is my training. So I also supervise doctoral students as well. And I've asked them, I said, well, what do you prefer? You know, some of them have said, well, I mean, it's basically the same. They feel it's the same. We're going to talk about that as far as efficacy in a bit. But also some have said, I really prefer that in person. I feel there's a greater connection. And that goes to my conceptualization. I feel like that the individuals I see in person, I do have a greater degree of connection. That doesn't mean to say that I'm not connected to my clients that are teletherapy. It's just a little different, and it just has a different feel to it, even though there is a therapeutic relationship, obviously. And I think that we are able to connect successfully. Now, check this out. This global burden from 1990 to 2017. This is the increased incident cases of depression worldwide, so not just in the US. But look at this. Now, cases are on the rise. Medication has become more efficacious to treat depression. And we've just recognized from the charts that I just showed you that more people are coming to therapy. Shouldn't we see a change in incident, in diagnoses, in the number of diagnoses? And that becomes one of the greatest challenges and questions. If more people are coming to treatment, more medication is efficacious, right? We recognize that how to treat depression, see it, understand it, less stigma. Shouldn't we see a change then in incidence of depression? So it gets to, what about our society that we still have these depressive seeds that germinate. We still have these depressive instances, episodes, occurrences, whatever it may be, that are causing this manifestation of depression. It's really very, very fascinating. And, AI and all that other stuff, I mean, that's all over the place now. I was listening to some this morning. They said that now, or soon, you can start to create your own online persona. So it will answer texts and it'll have conversations as if it's you, if you train it to do that. I think that our jobs are safe for a really long time because of the needed fluidity in our jobs. I think that AI isn't there yet. That's my perspective. I've talked to some friends in the computer engineering industry, and they're like, "Yeah, you don't know how fast that this is growing." I said, "Well, maybe I don't. Just telling you what I think." So there you go.